Good afternoon and welcome to Brave Embrace. Thank you for joining us this beautiful May day. I'm so excited by today's guest. She joined us last year and gave us a glimpse into the remarkable healing opportunities that she has as a survivor of violent crime. And I am inviting her back to share. Please welcome Rena Romano. Hey, Rena.
Hey, Kim. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you reached out to join you again today.
Well, thank you. It was last year that we visited, and it was on the heels of some legislative work you were doing in the field. And I'm excited to hear how that turned out. And if you don't mind, give our listeners a little reintroduction of you and your work.
Okay. Thanks, Kim. Hello, viewers. Rena Romano, and I am a survivor of incest and sexual assault, domestic violence. Yes, I've had a lot of trauma in my life, but I've also been on a mission to heal that trauma and then show others how to heal from their trauma and move on and get back to the joy that we were born into.
I love it. I get chills all over when I hear your words because I see, and in every interaction I've had with you, I see that joy shining through. And I know that's possible for our survivors, our sisters and brothers that have been battling, recovering from the addiction, the affliction of the abuse that occurred. It hangs on us like a cloak. And you have put together amazing ways to get through that. And so I'm so glad you're here again to share.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, there's one thing I want to share with your viewers. We were born to live in joy. And we just forget that along the way. And we can get into that later if you want or now. But I want to show people how to get back to joy. And if I don't have children, but we've all seen a baby when they smile and they just light up the room. It could be the first smile that they ever give. That's joy.
You're right. And I do want to get into it. I mean, you are a TEDx speaker. You're an author. You have dedicated your life to helping people really reclaim that joy, reminding them that it's in there. Yes. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I didn't know what my journey looked like, Kim. I knew I had a story. I knew that I had to heal. People want to go out and change the world, but I discovered that change started with me first. And so I did a lot of healing work. I did a lot of trauma work and healing. And so the things that I've discovered along the way is what I want to share. And I have a lot of survivors come up to me and say, that happened to me too, but I don't know what to do. I want to be happy like you. And this is what I want people to know, that yes, we were born into joy, and life happens along the way, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, whether you've had no trauma at all. We get wrapped up in life and trying to make money and outlive the Joneses next door, whatever it is. We forget that joy.
I'm just captivated by the thought that you've taken these complex traumas you experienced. And by the way, thank you for sharing. I'm so sorry that your life, was scarred by that. However, taking these steps and taking these actions and actually making the choice to step into that joy. I mean, you've turned and offered that as a service to others, other people that are survivors, those that work in the corporate world, anyone that needs to seek that original story of joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to remember the joy. And so that's what life is all about now is getting a refresh, a reset to remember what we were born to be and feel. And that is joy. We weren't born to suffer.
Yes. You have a line on your website, renaromano.com, that says something to the effect of remembering the fact that someone perpetrated a crime or a hurt on us, yet somehow we're the ones suffering. We're the ones in jail, the jail of our own. Tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get to that phrase?
You betcha. In my TEDx talk, Kim, Oprah Winfrey, she's my hero, my mentor. And so I've always watched her. And now Dr. Brene Brown, because she is the godmother of shame and vulnerability. But she talks a lot on shame. And even though I'd done a lot of work and a lot of healing for the trauma, I was still stuck in the shame of what happened to me, the crimes committed against me. And one day on Super Soul Sunday, Dr. Brene Brown and Oprah were talking about shame. And Dr. Brene said that shame is lethal. Shame is deadly. And I remember I was very depressed at the time. And I jumped off the couch and I was screaming and yelling. And I said, I am tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit. And it was like, boom, something snapped in me. And I started laughing and jumping for joy. And it was though that shame released, because I was holding on to the shame of their crimes. We didn't commit the crimes. We have to stop doing the time.
There it is. Oh, that is so rich, so profound, yet so simple. I love the story of it being inspired by that moment of two spectacular women stepping out there, stepping into their own strengths and sharing. And yet this inspired in you this new awareness.
Absolutely. You have a puppy too. That puppy's full of joy and doing its job.
That's right. Joy spreaders. I'm telling you what. So after that moment of like feeling the joy, drawing you to dancing and laughter, and did you know then, wow, I've got to get out there and share this?
Yeah, I don't know what has been driving me all these years, Kim. I guess it's my purpose. And we all have something that's pushing us that we feel that we're compelled to do. I didn't know what it looked like. I still don't know what the end journey looks like, because I'm not ready to quit. I don't know what the end journey is going to look like. That's 20, 30 years down the road. But something was pushing me, and it's still evolving. It's still blossoming into what it's supposed to be. And it's like a flower blooming. We get a lot of manure dumped on us through life, but a beautiful flower needs all that manure to blossom into its beautiful self.
Yeah, that's a beautiful yet a little yucky, but mostly beautiful.
Kind of to the point analogy, right?
It sure does. But wow, it is. It's so true that really it needs that kind of feeding, that fuel so full of and rich of nutrients, which I guess would be equal to the pain and suffering that we go to then, build us up and allow us to blossom into that. So how do you share those tidbits and inspirations and comforts with people that are working with you?
I share it through my speaking, my coaching. I have a small online course. It's how to stop self-sabotage. Right now I'm working on a book, and it's going to be daily prompts of affirmations and how to manifest what you want and create the life that you want after trauma. Because we should, if you've been through some serious trauma, Kim, we need to get the help and work with professionals to help us work through that trauma. But then what does life look like afterwards? I went through 2 years of talk therapy, and I thought, I'm healed, I'm one and done. But as life went along, I found that I wasn't feeding my mind, body, or soul. And I was going back into the trauma of what happened, and I would slip back into victimhood unknowingly. But being traumatized and being a victim was so natural. It felt natural. And so I kept slipping back to that, but I wasn't happy.
Wow. So this is a real takeaway. I kind of want to reflect back for a second, because this is really rich with some of the nutrients that you received during this kind of healing time. So first of all, I applaud you and thank you for saying that sometimes you step backwards, like falling back into that victimhood. I think that's common, and that in me and maybe in others has elicited like a little bit of shame response. Like, I thought I was doing better, and now look, I'm falling back in, right? But you also talked about just the strive and the desire to continue to step into that. So by looking at it through kind of by body, mind, and soul, how are you able to integrate the desire to keep moving forward, with yourself?
Well, like I said, I have this something compelling, something is driving me. And even when I have my bad days, I know that I have to keep moving forward because I'm supposed to be doing something. And I guess this is part of it. If I could really put my finger on it, even Dr. Brene Brown, I just heard her podcast. She's taking 3 months sabbatical this summer. She's just taking time off. And even all the professionals do it. So we need to step back. And if you're going along and you have a setback, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed. It just means you take a breath and say, okay, what's next? Or do I really need to hurry up and go to what's next? Can I just take a break for a minute and see what's next?
I see. Now, I found myself kind of in that spot during pandemic. And like, I know you and I have shared that it almost feels like we're in this post-pandemic kind of yuck. I mean, during that time, I felt really, it was nice to have the retreat, the quiet time, the space to just allow feelings to move in and out and, be sad, be happy, be inspired. But it's still kind of hanging on for me, just a little bit of confusion and sometimes overwhelm. Are you experiencing that? And do you think that's common?
Absolutely common. And everybody's talking about it right now. And the word that has come out of this pandemic is languish. We've all been kind of languishing during this period. And if you see, a lot of people don't want to go back to work because they've had a moment to either breathe or they've had to take on double jobs, such as stay-at-home moms, homeschooling, and they didn't have time to breathe during these 2 years because they had to take on other jobs that they couldn't send their children to school. So a lot of people are now, we're finally getting out to network and go socialize and get out among people again. But we've had 2 years of alone time in our little bubble. And what's out there? What is it I want? So yeah, everybody's going through this. The whole world is. And I don't think that we should rush back into it. And it's not going to be the same as it was before the world stopped.
Wow, that's probably another big takeaway, something to really remind ourselves of very factually. It's not going to ever really be the same as it was. So having that expectation, and if you're trying to meet that, we're going to fall short, right? Well,
right.
How do you encourage people to create new normals and begin to love the life that they kind of found themselves living post-pandemic?
Well, I think, if you look at all the things that you were doing differently these past 2 years that you weren't doing before. I mean, you were going 110 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden we have to hit this wall called a pandemic and we have to stop. I found new ways to work on my mind, body, and soul. And I just took a breath and relaxed. I wasn't making money at the time because I'm a coach and a lot of people were out of work and I wasn't doing public speaking anymore. So I'm not standing on a stage. I did do some virtual stuff, but we have to stop and look at it as maybe a gift. Instead of, let's look at the gifts that maybe we found during this past 2 years. Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, you're probably a lot, the bills have stacked up. You couldn't pay rent, but you were able to stop and breathe. Mm-hmm. So if we look at some of the good things that came out of it versus the bad, and because we never would stop and meditate before, we would go and go and go. We wouldn't stop and read. I put together a couple of puzzles during the pandemic. I hadn't done puzzles in years, but it was so for my mind and my spirit just to work on those puzzles and try and find that one piece. Where does it go, And it was just so refreshing to give my mind a break from the rat race of networking and trying to make a buck and do all that. So that was a gift. And I'm glad I was able to do it.
Right, definitely. And I think you acknowledge the place that so many people are in these days with still trying to recover from the financial hit, the job loss hit, like consulting, losing opportunities that way. It did just cause us to pause. So is this when you kind of felt inspired to start your second book?
Well, yeah, that's when I put together, I have the affirmations that I'm working on, and we can talk about that again later, but and worked on some videos. So I'm going to be working on some more videos, but I've been thinking about this book, and I like to write, and but I didn't take the time to write because I was languishing. And so I took this time, this last 2 years, Kim, to really just work on puzzles, work on the house, work out physically, read books. And I didn't hustle the grind for the business. I just kind of step back and say, okay, I don't know what it's going to look like. So just enjoy doing those things you didn't take time to do before.
Right. Right. So it sounds like you kind of were filling each of your buckets as you're going through it, maybe not even intellectually or on purpose, but the whole, your body, mind, and soul. Also by like finding creative projects that were different than what you'd been doing before, working in the yard, gardening, exercising, the body, the mind. So is this, kind of a standard woven through a lot of the way you see healing and recovery is by tapping into kind of those pillars of your life and body?
Absolutely. The mind, the body, the soul, the triangle. Let me see if I can make a triangle here. I'm used to making the heart.
Yeah.
I'm used to making the heart.
Yes.
But the triangle, the mind, the body, and soul, they're all connected. And, when I was a little girl and I was first being molested, I could feel my soul leave my body. I could feel it being murdered. Mm-hmm. I had my mind, I had my body, but my spirit, my joy was taken from me. And so I know that all three of those are intertwined together, and we have to take care of all three. Mm-hmm. Now, the body, we know that's nutrition and exercise. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The mind is journaling, doing crossword puzzles, doing puzzles, doing things that keep our mind sharp, reading books. And then the spirit, the soul is, going to church, meditating, praying, whatever it is you do that brings you and it brings you into the present, into the moment. So it's just you and God, you and universe, whatever word you want to put with that, because that is the mind, body, and spirit. And we have to work on all three.
I see. It makes so much sense to kind of look at those pillars individually, doesn't it? Because I think sometimes when we're just doing a slurry of activity, I forget to be real intentional about what part of myself, that I'm utilizing or working out or encouraging or, exercising. Last show, we met with a practitioner from Canada, and she was talking about some healing modalities like Reiki or Akashic clearing, using essential oils and meditation like you described. Are all of those things, do they fit kind of in that spirit, section as well? Healing from within, maybe?
Absolutely. And yoga, I think yoga, works on all three. The mind, you've got to be conscious of where that stance. The body, you're working on the exercise, and the spirit, because you're just being really quiet in that moment. Mm-hmm. So for a while during this 2-year period, I was doing puzzles. I was reading, but I wasn't really exercising like I should. And a lot of us didn't. And I've put on a few pounds.
COVID weight, we all call it.
Yeah, COVID weight. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I was kind of working on the other two, but I let that third one go. And now I'm making up for it, trying to get rid of those poundage around the middle part. But it feels good to work out again too, because afterwards I do feel like I just meditated. I did work on my mind, and I'm doing, extra sit-ups and I'm counting to make sure that I get it done. Yeah. Anything meditating, scent, Reiki healing, yoga, whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like making time to invest in that and make sure that you're putting that as a priority. I hear that you were doing kind of during that time of respite that has turned into languishing for some, which I really appreciate you mentioning that word. I hadn't thought of it in that format, but I think that's going to speak to a lot of people that are in that place of and feeling just not quite right, but not sure where to go from here. And so you offer just a multitude of resources on your website. I love it. I love the look of it and the quotes. And you have clips from your TED Talk, things that you can read to be inspired. But you also have an invitation, an opportunity for those that join you can receive weekly affirmation and inspiration through emails. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have 52 weeks of transformational affirmations, and you can sign up for free. And every week you get a little message with that. And I've decided to turn that into a book, into a workbook. So, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I know you've created a video that kind of introduces it. If you don't mind, I think we'll take a look and then we'll share how those listening and watching can sign up for those encouraging emails.
Great. Thanks.
Are you a survivor of child sexual abuse or sexual assault? Are you still struggling with low self-esteem? Still sabotaging your dreams? Hi, I'm Rena Romano, a survivor and advocate, and I have a tool just for you that has helped me reclaim my life and get my happy back. If you're still stuck in the shame because of your perpetrator's crimes, please join me because we're launching a movement called Thriving After Sexual Abuse. I grew tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit, and I bet that you are too. Hey, we didn't commit the crime. We must stop doing the time. Sign up and claim your 52 weeks of transformational affirmations. Every week, you'll receive a new affirmation with empowering words and insights to help you reclaim your life and finally create the life you've always dreamed of, the life you deserve. Isn't it time to take back your power and become a survivor of your life? Yes, it is, because you deserve it.
I love the words in the video and the invitation that it provides, Rena. So tell us how they can find the section on your website to sign up to receive those affirmations.
Go to my website, Rena, Rena Romano, ROMANO.com, and sign up. And you'll get one a week. You'll get a new affirmation with a little short story. And I'm turning those stories into prompts in the book. And so that'll come out later. So just sign up and you get the newsletter. Sometimes I'll send out some other information. So, yeah.
Well, I signed up last year, and what I really enjoyed, besides just seeing it pop up in the inbox, like I knew it was just a almost like a hug, like a little, punch of joy there. But the material you put in there is easy to read, nice, quick things you can ingest. But I just felt encouraged in the days. It was like, okay, I'm not in this alone. Someone else has been here. And the affirmations are things that for me, it's like a promise I'm telling myself or reminding myself about. something to remind myself and get rid of the chatter in the head or the negative thinking and replace it with something positive and good and to the point.
I like to get to the point. I don't like to spend a lot of time, talking about something and make people tease them through the video. I like to get to the point. So, because that's the way it is right now. We've got so much going on. People want, okay, what's the message? What's going on here? But this is one thing I want to share with people. We've had these 2 years now. Let's use the gift of time now and give that gift to ourselves. You might still be languishing, but what can you do to make yourself feel better in the moment? What can you do to work on your spirit? Is it meditating? Is it going to church? Is it prayer? If you've heard of Mark Twain, he's an author from long, long ago. And he said, the best way to cheer yourself up is to go cheer others up. So I do a lot of volunteering. And I even did that over Zoom.
You did? Rena, tell me about that.
Well, it was just workshops that I did for Dress for Success. And it was the women in the professional women's group. And they would put on educational classes. And I did one for them, one on public speaking, because I'm a public speaking and a TEDx coach. And then I did one on the power of affirmations and how to do them properly.
Oh, I see. What wonderful gifts back to. And I love that, that caused Dress for Success. I remember working with them and engaging with them younger in my career, but it's so important, I think, for us, to support women, to mentor other women and to offer, what we've given so that they can achieve their successes and goals. So, but to go back to the volunteering piece. So, what a great way to intentionally be feeding your spirit and your soul by doing something for others. Because I was languishing. I was getting depressed. I, just like everybody else, is like, what am I doing? But when you're out there intentionally trying to lift others and to give back to others, it's a loop. It's a feedback loop, because you're there giving to others, but they're giving to you, and then you're feeding off each other. Wow.
And it's wonderful for your spirit. A lot of people can't give money to charities, but you can maybe give an hour a month, 2 hours. I'll tell you what, it will lift your soul. It will lift your spirit. And I know in the past, I used to volunteer for a girls' school, and they ended up hiring me when they had an opening. So that's a great way to go find a job too.
Right. Opens all kinds of doors, doesn't it? And you get to do something that, pours into others. So, that's what I'm really, another takeaway from our conversation really is this, breakdown of body, mind, and spirit. I mean, thinking now as I was listening to you about how the activities of my day, where do they fit into each of those buckets? And am I consciously setting aside time to dedicate into those? So maybe that, if I am more conscious, then I can even, kind of pat myself on the back for time invested in exercise, say, and instead of just going through the exercise and running on to the next thing, but maybe starting to stop and, check it off a list, write it in my journal so that I can see what I've accomplished in those areas as well. I'm really
absolutely. And that's what I'm putting together for folks. Now, here's something I want to share with them. For exercise, you don't have to go to the gym. If you don't have the money to go to the gym, there was a lady I saw on TV years ago, and she was running in the New York Marathon, and she lived in a high rise in New York City, and it was too cold to go outside and run on the streets. She ran up and down her hallway in the high rise.
Yeah.
And you know how old she was? She was 80 years old.
Oh, that's terrific. If that doesn't get you off the couch, then
hello. So there are things, think about, what am I doing for my mind today? Maybe even if it's just reading for 15 minutes, because it's so hard for some of us to sit still and really concentrate. So what am I doing for exercise? One thing that really gets me, and we have a obesity problem in America. When I go to the grocery store, they have these little parking lots for the carts. That all you have to do is walk and put the cart in that parking lot for the cart, the little bin. Yeah. And that's exercise.
Yeah.
Instead of leaving the cart right next to your car.
Mm-hmm. And not only contributing to nuisance, right, for the store or the employees or the other shoppers that hits their car, but taking the time to go and put that away, and then kind of giving yourself a mental pat on the back, like, okay, I did it. I took those extra steps. Or it's inspired me to think like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then spirit is just light a candle, sit by yourself, take a bubble bath, meditate. I'm the worst at meditation because I usually end up snoring. I don't know how to meditate because my mind just goes and goes and goes. So I'm learning how to do that. But just take a moment and, reach out to a friend or go to church or say prayer or volunteer. It's so important that we all take care of ourselves, because if we keep giving and giving and giving, we're going to empty our cup, and we have to learn how to fill our cup up.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And I know that you have offerings where people can work with you. You can coach them and mentor them. You can do through Zoom, right? You can kind of start small, do an hour or two, and then go from there if this is something that is working. And so when people engage in those situations, do they just kind of show up as they are and just share what some of their struggles are, and you help them with a plan?
Show up where they are, what they're thinking about. And I want people to know, I am not a therapist, and I am not trained in the field of crisis trauma. So if you're in crisis, if you're in trauma, call 911 or 211 if you have it in your local area, or call RAIN, RAINN, the 800 number. And there's some resources on my website, renaromano.com, on the contact page. But the mentoring calls is like, I get a lot of people, and especially survivors, I want to share my story, but I don't know what to do next. So we'll just bounce things off for an hour. And, I listen. And intuitively, I can hear what it is they really want to do. And then I send them off with homework.
Oh, I see.
And if they want to do more coaching, then I have a 3-month coaching program.
Love that. So it's kind of like time with the best trusted friend who you can be really real and vulnerable with, and help kind of reorganize some of the stuff that's going on in your head, and almost find pathways out of it. As I'm thinking in my head, if you were inside here, you'd be going, Kim, let's make an exit ramp right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And kind of take this turn, and let's try this way.
Right.
Wow. Well, I hope that those listening and watching will be inspired to check out your website for sure. Like you said, there's contact information, resources on there. Thank you for bringing up RAIN. I know that our producer can put that number in the follow-up notes as well, as that is very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So almost feeling not afraid to reach out and connect with someone, right?
Yeah. We all need to do that. And you reached out to me with an email just recently to have this conversation. And I was struggling. Where am I going? What am I doing next? I was going to take just a little bit of time off, a sabbatical, to work on this new book that I want to work on. We don't have to be out there 24/7 in social media. Like I said, Dr. Brene Brown is taking 3 months off, taking a sabbatical so she can work on herself, because she gives in her podcast and she speaks a lot and she does workshops. We have to do that for ourselves. And if you're not sure where you're going right now, don't stress. You're right where you need to be to get to where you want to go. Yeah. Just breathe, because I'm not sure what this new chapter in my life completely looks like. I'm thinking about it and I'm marinating on it. But it's going to change from what I think I might want to do to where it really ends up. Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely. And by you sharing it, it makes me feel so connected, because sometimes in those moments I feel alone, or like, oh, I can't figure it out, or I don't have the motivation, or I'm being, I'm not putting enough effort in, all of those self-talk negative things. I get myself wound up in this tornado. But even by referencing, Dr. Brene Brown and her work, and seeing too, like you said, that she's taking time to feed her body, mind, and soul. And while she has all these, great perspectives, but sometimes she needs to stop and be fed as well.
And we all do. Yeah. Oprah does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All the great teachers out there do it.
Yeah.
All the great, whether it's in business, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Mel Robbins, some of the spiritual leaders that are out there. T.D. Jakes. Is that right? I love him.
I love him. Yes.
They all take breaks. Joyce Myers, all of them, whether it's spiritual, they're business leaders or spiritual leaders, they all take time to fill up their cup and refuel.
Man, this has been a really refreshing conversation, because I think you were able to identify and share some areas where a lot of people are hurting, languishing, feeling still kind of stuck. And yet at the same time, with just your joyous demeanor, be able to show them that there's a way through it. There's a way out. Here are some tips, tricks, and tools. But you also said it's okay if you're just there in it for a little bit. Like, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you've missed an opportunity. I love the way you said it, that it's, you're okay where you're at right now is where you're supposed to be right now. Something like that. You did a much better job.
Well, you pat yourself on the back, because if you are aware that you're having these negative feelings and these negative thoughts, that is a great awareness. And I saw Tom Hanks with a couple other actors, and he said, "This too shall pass." And it was such a great, look it up on YouTube. Tom Hanks, Robert De Niro, and a couple other actors. He says, if you're in a good mood, this too shall pass. If you're having a bad day, this too shall pass. So I tell myself, tomorrow's better. This too shall pass. If I'm having a really bad day, I have negative thoughts, Kim. We all do. We have to fight those demons, of negative self-worth, self-esteem, and confidence. So the tools that I have, I use them too. And I have to take a break and step away from it, because comparing ourselves to other people and think that they're being more successful than me, they really aren't telling the truth, that they're languishing as well.
Oh, wow. That comparison piece. I am so glad you touched on that. I think that is just surging with, social media. Obviously, we all know that, but seeing all the posts that everyone looks perfect and happy, and everyone's got the perfect family and events and travels and all the things. Yeah. But like you said, a lot of people are holding back. They're not showing the hurts. They're putting the facade out there. And I especially see our younger men and women like kind of getting stuck in that trap of comparison culture.
And, I don't go on my social media and talk about the languishing that I've gone through, and I will. I just take a step back. Mm-hmm. So you won't see as many posts from me. Mm-hmm. So it's not that anything's wrong. It's just I need to take a step back from social media or trying to put the content out there, because it doesn't. If it's not feeding my soul, I'm not going to do it.
Ooh, mic drop. That is great. Genius words right there. Right. Why do we all feel as if we just empty ourselves to just do all this? But if it's not feeding us, then it's contributing to stealing the joy, don't you think?
Yep. It's sucking the joy right out of us.
Right out. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. These have been some wise words. I hope some people are listening, feeling inspired. We send this show out, and I'm going to send lots of notes with it that, tell people different places to find these really important takeaways that you have shared with us today.
I hope so. It's been fun. I love you. I'm so glad you reached out. And like I said, we're all here to live in joy. And if you're not living in joy, if you're not happy, just stop for a minute and breathe. And think about what would make you happy. Another thing for the spirit, I love to make cookies. I love to cook.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be some big grandiose thing that makes you happy.
Some big gourmet thing with all the fancy ingredients. Just like you said, the act of creating by cooking, and then the smell of it, baking, putting the ingredients together, kind of back to the simple things that do feed you.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like we've gotten away from thinking about what really feeds us and feels good in those areas of our life.
We need to get back to that. And, I think some of us found that in the past 2 years. Some of us forgot that in these past few years. But now's the time, if you're struggling and not sure what the next steps are, just breathe and hug yourself and say, this too shall pass.
Oh, it's beautiful. Perfect. Thank you for sharing. We love to bring awareness to stories of bravery and moments of bravery in our thinking and in our actions. And that's exactly what I see in you is your willingness to just be brave, embracing all the things that have been hard and stepping into what's possible. I love it. And I love you. And I'm so thankful for this friendship that has come together.
Oh, I love you too. You're so sweet. And we will meet in person soon, and I will get that hug. I'm a hugger.
Yes, me too. And I'm ready for that. And until then, I want all those to check out Rena's website. It is very inspirational, and she looks amazing on it. Just know that her heart is full of joy, and she's ready to share that with you in the tough times and in the good times. Know that there are people that understand where you're at. So, Rena, thank you again for being with me today.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you so much. I love you. And just don't forget the joy.
Yeah, there we go. The people, don't forget the joy. And until next time, be brave.